Well, now we're ready to take all of this stuff right here. I mean, not including the tools. The tools, we'll talk about these when we actually use them, or when I use them for some of this stuff. But we're going to take all these components, all the stuff that is part of our surveillance or mobile workstation, and start putting them in the box. But before we go about that, I think it's important to talk about some of the stuff that was already on the box when we showed up, right? So some of the stuff that I built at home or up in the lab prior to getting here. Now, if you can see on this box, there's several modifications that I have already made that will reveal themselves to you as we build this system. But here we have the Velcro. You can see this was the purpose of this was for mounting the solar panels. Now, remember, you don't have to mount your solar panels on your box. I know that maybe some of you are interested in just having a charge station at your house, right? So you can go take your system out, run it off the battery all day, and then, or all night, and then come home, plug it up into the solar panels at your house, and then it will charge throughout the day. It's ready again at nighttime. You can run your system again without ever having to bring your solar panels with you, right? We wanted to provide a mountable solar panel. You know, you could take it out with you, prop it up at a nice little angle, 45 degrees, wherever the sun's at. Go out on your hike while it's charging all day. At nighttime, you need to charge your cell phones, charge any of your devices, run a fan, whatever you need. You come back to your campsite at night, and there you go. You're ready with all the energy you need. So those are the Velcros. That's where the panels will be mounted onto. We have these cables. So these cables are going to hook into the panels. To state the obvious, we decided to hook them in parallel, and you can kind of see they trace down along here, along the back, and then we drilled a little hole in the back side of this box, hopefully not ruining the integrity too much. We felt that there was a nice little lip here, so the only way water would actually get in is if it was coming at a pretty big angle. You could always fix this with adding some hot glue or some caulk that will block this hole and kind of make it so that it's a little more weatherproof. Yeah, we'll show you the inside and how it leads up into the charge controller shortly. However, this is kind of what we decided to do. Again, there's probably other ways to do this. This was our idea, and we kind of ran with it. Another thing you might notice is these bolts. So we have 4 bolts going into the box, and these bolts were, the purpose of these bolts is to hold on to a piece of plywood on the back. We can kind of get a little shot of this. So you can see this plywood. It was hard to mount anything onto the plastic because there was a lot of grooves and rivets on the back. We weren't able to mount anything onto it, so we decided to put this plywood here that will allow us to mount the charge controller, maybe a screen later on if you want to mount a screen, any other components that you can think of that you'd like to mount up there. Plenty of space, and it should hold very well. Long-term use, you might want to put a washer in there, especially on the plastic side. A little washer will fit in there, and that'll make things a little more sturdy. Yeah, so that being said, let's start by mounting the solar panels. Now we have both of our solar panels over here, and I'm going to, we'll put them this way. I'm going to set one up at a time, and I said they were going to be in parallel. So what I'm going to do is set this one up right here. Now, if you take a close look at this setup here, these connectors, there's no plus, there's no minus. Like we don't know which way we want to hook up. What do we want to hook the voltage to? What do we want the ground to, right? So in order to find that out, that's why I have my voltmeter. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually hook this up so we can get this propped up so you can see it along with the plugs here. Maybe you can see it there. So we'll go like that. So if I prod on both of these right here, well, you can see that I got a negative voltage. That means that the red one definitely doesn't go there. So if I swap these around, I'm getting a positive voltage, and that means that the red one should probably go onto this connector right here. All right, all these parts that I'm using, I built these wires, these little connectors, everything was built by me. I'm gonna move this out of the way here for now, and I will hook this into here, and I will hook this into here. So we have our ground and our voltage right here, high and low. So this kind of just rolls over and Velcros right to the case, if I did it properly. Boom. All right, nice and sturdy, should be able to hold. All right, next one. So again, we're going to set this up again, and I want to know which one is the positive, which one is the negative, or the ground. Plug this in. I got a negative voltage again. I'm 0 for 2 now. All right, so the red one is going to be on this side. So I'm simply going to take this. That one seemed a little easier. There we go. And then the ground will go right here. Get this set up. Move this down, and I'll just roll this over and slide it on the Velcro. Okay, so both of our panels should be secure, and as I told you earlier, they are already traced all the way into the box and up into the charge controller. So if this light in this studio here was giving us enough energy, we might be able to see something. I'm going to tell you, we're not. So if the light in the studio was giving us enough energy, this charge controller would turn on. And you'll notice that even though the battery is not hooked up right now, this would still turn on with the energy of the solar panels. However, when we go outside, you will see this light up. The ports will turn on, and everything will start working. So what's next? Next, we want to put in our battery. So right here, we have our battery. And I'm just going to kind of place it right here and explain what we ended up building here. On the outside, we have 2 bolts similar to what you saw here. But on the inside, we have this plank of wood with 4 I believe they're called eye screws or eye sockets. And these right here are going to be used with bungee cables. Now, there were a lot of ideas that we threw around when talking about this, how to mount the battery, because you know you're rolling this, you're throwing it in your car, out of your car, bringing it around with you wherever you're going. Even if you have a more portable case, you're going to want to think about how you're going to harness the battery because you don't want it bouncing around. We wanted to minimize the amount of weight that we would use. So we just thought a single plank and some bungees would work perfectly. There was also some ideas we threw around with holding a plank across the whole thing, other planks to hold it in place. We cut off a couple pounds just by using a single plank and these little screws here. So what you do is you bring your battery, prop it up against here. You can kind of see that it's nice and snug. Get this out of the way here, falling behind there. Nice and snug there. I already have the cables wired from the charge controller down here that they're going to plug into the battery eventually. So I'll tuck this back under here, and I'm going to grab one of my bungees. I'm going to hook it in there, and then I'm going to hook it in back over there. Do another one, another bungee, hook it in there, bring it around, and hook it back right there. All right, so you can actually use several bungees. I think that I ended up using 8 overkill, but the idea is that you don't want it to be able to move around too much. Let's put one more on there, or you can find bungees with more tension. That's probably the better thing to do. This was all I could really find in the amount of time I had. So there you go, some bungees. You could always use a rope too, or a nylon band, something. So the more bungees you put there, the better it's going to hold, right? Okay, so the battery's all set up there now. Next thing we're going to set up is just kind of storing the inverter. So the inverter, as you can see, is already set up in here. So let's see here. I have the cables hooked in, and they kind of got caught under there under the bungee, but you can see that they follow along here. Here are the 2 inverter cables. They go in here into the charge controller, and it's very simple, this charge controller. Underneath here, it literally has a picture of solar panels, a picture of a battery, and a picture of the load, a light bulb. So, and a plus and a minus for each one. Here I have the solar panels coming up here into the charge controller. These ones right here. I have the inverter coming in to the middle one, and I have the inverter coming into the last one, and then I have the battery coming in through the middle one. That's going to give us all the components we need for the system to work. So I'm going to mount this inverter back up here again. This has a nice little switch so we can turn it on and off once we hook the battery on. All right, let's hook the battery on actually. So red goes to red, black goes to black. And as you can see right here, the charge controller is already powering up, and it turned on. So it shows us that we are hooked in. It shows us the battery 12 volts. It shows that we have a load hooked up, which is our inverter. We can cycle through here. Oh, well, how about that actually? The solar panels are actually providing some energy. So we are getting something from the solar panels. It's detecting 10 volts, it looks like. Yeah, so you can kind of fiddle around with the charge controller. You might not have one with a display like this. We decided to do this with the display just to kind of show you some of the cool features. And when we go out to the sun, you'll start to see this thing blinking as it's charging because we will use this. Now for this inverter, I can turn it on right here. It powers up, right? Now this is just functioning right off of the, this is only functioning off of the battery itself. So what we're doing is we're just burning juice now, but you can see if I wanted to, I could take this screen right here and I can power it up by plugging in to one of these micro USBs. And this screen is made to be powered by the Dragonboard 410C. Let me take this off here to make it a little easier. Plug this into the charge controller. We are in fact getting power from the system. So the charge controller is pulling from the battery, and I don't have anything plugged into the screen to the HDMI, but we are getting power to the screen here, right? Now if we wanted to test something that would plug in to the inverter, we can test that out too. We'll plug something into the inverter right now, and I'm just going to plug a bigger monitor here, and this goes in right here, and you'll see that in fact we're getting power. We can turn it on, and it doesn't have any signal. I haven't hooked the Dragonboard 410C up to it yet, but you can see that the system is working, and as soon as we go outside and test out that it's charging, then we'll know that we have the full cycle. So we can burn our energy and then we can get it back from the sun. That's the idea of this whole system, as well as have plenty of space for all of our little knickknacks that we want to kind of build our surveillance system with. So in the next video, we will take a lot of our stuff. We're going to go outside, show that it's working outside in the sun, show some of the other stuff that starts to light up with the panels actually functioning with the light, and yeah, stick around. So we'll see you in the next video.